nests up in Scotland. The hill behind you, there was a pen up on the hill behind you. The chicks went in the pen and they stayed there until they could fly. And basically the hope was that they would consider Rutland to be their home when they were adults, and they'd come back. And they have. Okay, so it's a very, from a conservation point of view, again, it was sort of the first time something like this has ever been done, and it's become a real sort of, well, it's a conservation milestone, really. They were the first ospreys to breed in England and Wales for 150 years. I don't know if anyone watches Spring Watch. Anyone watched Spring? I think it was the Spring Watch last year when they were in Wales and they were filming the ospreys in Wales. Those whales and ospreys are birds that were born and bred in Rutland. So, in terms of ospreys colonising the UK, now, in recent times, they wouldn't be here if it wasn't from Rutland. So they've kind of become, that and Normanton Church have kind of become a new local icons, and of course that's all a result of the reservoir. Okay, and again, very important from ecotourism. We get about 50,000 people a year coming down just because they want to see the ospreys. So yeah, quite a significant bird. If you want to go see them, best place to go is to the other visitor centre down at Linden. They're only here in the summer. Last year they came, well, they tend to, the ones, we've got a pair who nest in Linden, which is that nest that you can see there. And there's a camera that overlooks the nest as well, so you can log on to the Osprey's website and you can watch them, baby birds, live in the webcam. Those pictures that we're showing in the room, that's the picture that you get from the nest camera, and that's just some highlights from last year. And they'll probably be back on the 18th or 19th of March. They usually come back on that date. Last year it was the 19th, but last year was a leap year, wasn't it? So they're a day late, obviously not following the calendar properly. So the 18th of March they should be back. And the Rutland Bell, which was the little boat that I showed you earlier, we work with them and we run osprey cruises. So you can come down in the evenings, you come here, you have a talk on the ospreys, then you go up, you hop on the Rutland Bell, and you drive around cruise around the reservoir looking for ospreys fishing. It's quite popular. So, just a little bit about the future of Rutland Water. I won't go on into this too much, because we've been talking for quite a while now actually. Just sort of reiterating the point really, that remember this is a reservoir, and first and foremost that's what it's there for. Okay? So all of the stuff that goes on around Rutland Water all comes second. Anglian Water have a legal duty to provide clean drinking water, and that is primarily what they are tasked with doing. Although it's a private company, and you can make your own minds up about whether they should pay their tax or whatever they want to do, they have to provide drinking water, and the government forces us as a company to provide drinking water. So what we found was the reservoir was designed to produce about 300 million litres of water a day, currently supplying about 230, but again, another population boom, new houses, particularly in the east of England, which is very, very dry. They are expecting to have to take out more and more water out of the reservoir every year. So what that's going to mean is that the water levels are basically just going to drop. Okay? Now, because of those three designations that I was telling you about earlier, as well as providing drinking water, we've also got a duty to protect the wildlife and that sort of thing. So we can't just take out more water because that's going to have a negative effect on the wildlife. So what we've had to do over the last couple of years, when the nature reserve was built, these were the 3 lagoons that were built. Over the last couple of years, we've had to build more. So this one, put a little dam across there. This one, which is Lagoon 4 on your map. This, which is wet meadows. It's not actually a lagoon, it's a grass, it's wet. And these ones, which I can't remember, lagoons 5, 6, 7 and 8. And these two here, we put dams across as well. Okay? So effectively what we've done is we've created a lot more water that will be permanently here, pumped out of the main reservoir into these lagoons. And the idea is that we can then take as much water out of the main reservoir as we like, and these will always still have water in them for the water birds. Okay? That's cost a fair bit of money, about £50 million to build the lagoons, plus all the additional pumping and that sort of stuff. And again, this is Natural England who have said to the company, look, you must mitigate against any future loss of habitat. All right. All those lagoons are now in. It will take them a couple of years. Basically, what happens if you imagine digging a hole and putting some water in it? At first, there's nothing in it. There's just water in there. Okay, there's nothing for the birds to eat. So it will take them a couple of years before they're sort of fully developed, if you like, and they actually start getting a lot of birds on them. But they will be very, very useful for the birds of each year. And these are basically just some diagrams which essentially are just a prediction of where we think the water might go. So if you have a look at the moment, all the light blue is where there's water now. That's what the reservoir looks like now, where there's light blue. We're full up. The reservoir can't get any fuller than it is at the moment. Okay. Dark blue is where the water would be if 50% of the water had gone. Okay. Just bear in mind, so this is where we are. These are the lagoons, you can see they're not affected. Okay. Bear in mind, Normanton Church is down here. There's a fishing lodge, which is with the harbour, which is tucked up in this little bay over there. This is Whitwell, where the Rutland Bell goes from, and where they do all the sailing and stuff on as well. You can see that's getting pretty dry. Okay. And then that would be once every 50 years or something they're predicting, and that would be 30%. So you can see there's still water in the lagoons, okay, but effectively all of those other activities, fishing, etc., 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 would probably almost grind to a halt because of where our buildings are located. Okay, so we almost wouldn't be able to run them. This year, last year, when we had the drought, we were already finding it difficult to run operations because the pontoons, etc., that the boats tied to just couldn't go down any further, and there was just no water. But I mean, those are sort of worst case scenarios. But you can see, luckily for the nature reserve, that's all still capable. Okay, and these are just some pictures of where they were when they were doing the work. This is the osprey nest in Linden, in Mountain Bay. So that's the nest that's got the camera on it. And those that they're building the dams across. That's just digging the new lagoons. These fences here. It's quite interesting, really. Does everyone know what a great crested newt is? Everyone know what a newt is? Anyone not know what a newt is? Doesn't matter if you don't. Yeah, it's basically a frog with a tail. Okay, it looks like a lizard. It looks like a lizard, but it's more closely related to a frog. Okay, so a newt is it's an amphibian. They live in ponds and stuff like that. There's a type of newt called a great crested newt, which is a protected species. So when we were building these new lagoons, which will probably end up being quite good for great crested newts, they were building them in the spring, and the trouble is that in this time of year when they were building them, great crested newts they only go in the water in the summertime, okay, and they wouldn't have got into the water yet. So those fences there were to catch the newts. Okay, so we couldn't start building the lagoons until we'd caught all the newts, and then we couldn't take the fences away until the lagoons were done in case the newts came in and got squished. So basically what happened was they walked up to the fence, thought, what's this fence? Walked along the fence, and then we had a series of every sort of 5 or 10 metres there was a pot, and the newt would walk along and then fall in the pot. They're not very bright. And then you'd go along and check the pots, and then you could take the newts up. And we weren't allowed to start doing work until we had 10 days of over 12 degrees centigrade, I think it was, with not catching any newts. And it was really cold that year, so everything got delayed because we didn't have 10 days of over 12 degrees centigrade. So the work got a little bit delayed because the newts weren't running around. And that's just some more pictures of them building. So this is looking